Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. I'm John Solo, and you are. God damn it, I forgot to turn the light. Hang on. I forgot to turn the backlight on. Give me 1 second here. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Hang on 1 second. I'm just going to go get this. It's way back here. I thought I had everything. I'm sorry. It's, Now, don't worry, I'm not going to do the clapping thing so much this time. It just takes one. Let's do blue today. I'm feeling blue. I'm not really. I feel just fine, but there we go. Thank you. Listen, I like my shorts. Hey, you see, so I woke up at hi, Cheryl. I said hi to you without actually getting a picture of Declan. I woke up at 9 a.m. this morning. I woke up at 8 and I laid there for a bit and I did kind of a meditation in bed thing, which is, by the way, that's not the best way to meditate. Lying down, meditating oftentimes leads to more sleep. That's just the way that works. But I didn't fall back asleep. I woke up at 9 and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I had a gig last night. It was a good gig. We hadn't had a gig in like 3 months. The PA system went up just fine. Although, here, see, I'm getting sidetracked already. The gig was on the very far side of town. Columbus isn't that big, but it is a city. I live on the extreme northeast side of Columbus, outside of town, like 10, 15 minutes outside, kind of into the country. And this gig was on the extreme southwest side of town. So you got to like cross over the entire city. It takes about 35 minutes to get there, 40 minutes, something like that. I get all the way down there. I packed up the PA system the night before, and I only need really an hour to set up everything, 40 minutes somewhere in there, but I like to be there at least 2 hours before the gig starts. I try and get there 3 hours before the gig starts. And that's because I need to get all the PA systems set up before the band gets there, preferably. The drummer always shows up before me. He's an asshole. That's an inside running joke with the band. But to make sure, in case something goes wrong, I have plenty of time to get everything set and ready to go, right? So I'm on track to be there 3 hours early. I get all the way across town, the other side of town. I'm getting off at the exit, and I realize that I've forgotten something, the microphone stands, because we haven't done a gig in like 3 months, and so I'm not used to doing it. So I have to run all the way back to the storage facility, which is about a mile from where we live, all the way back down. Still got there in plenty of time, had set up and everything. So anyways, gig went good last night. I'm laying in bed this morning. I do my laying down meditation. I don't fall asleep. And like 9 o'clock or so, I'm like, well, it was a good time last night. I really enjoyed that. It was good to see all my friends, the band's family at this point, my family again. And it feels like I'm forgetting something. Oh shit, it's Sunday. Oh, I have to, we got a morning coffee. God damn it. So I jump up, and these shows take a little bit of time to prep. Half hour, 45 minutes, somewhere in there. You got to get graphics, got to download them. You got to decide, like, what do I want to talk about? And so I rushed. I got my coffee. By the way, Cheryl, thank you for this coffee mug. This thing is fucking awesome. A bunch of people sent me coffee mugs. Mary, if you're in the crowd too, Mary Parks, that Jeep coffee mug has now replaced my old thermos coffee mug. My thermos coffee mug is now the backup. The Jeep coffee mug you got me is now the regular in dock. I take it every morning with me. It's freaking awesome. So anyways, I got the coffee. I came up here and I decided what I was gonna talk about, what we were gonna do this morning, everything else. And as I'm heading up to the studio, Mom calls. Apparently a week ago, I thought that my normal weekend is on Saturday or Sunday. I go up north and I play games with my brothers, and then I try and visit my mom every couple of weeks. I'd forgot I was supposed to be up there this morning. One of those mornings. So I called her. I told her I'm sorry, but Ma, if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. I miss you. I love you. I haven't seen you in quite a few weeks now. I'll make it up next weekend. It was just one of those weeks where everything. Nothing went as planned. Let's put it that way, but it's all right. Hi, how are you? Let's get it. First off, this was Jody and I a year ago, almost to the date, January 14th last year. Jody and I did a jeeping trip down to Kentucky. God, I love the jeeping and I miss it so much. This was actually the last time that Jody winter camped. Now, it doesn't really look, you can see the leaves aren't on the trees in that picture. And here, I'll show it to you. You can see the leaves aren't on the picture, but at the same time, it was definitely cold. There's no doubt. No doubt it was cold that day. That is at a place called Spas Creek in Kentucky. Just absolutely gorgeous terrain. It's lovely. By the way, Doc looks very different now than that. And actually Ruby looks very different too than that. We've got different things on. But anyways, so that was a year ago. Since then, Jody and I have done quite a few trips down to Kentucky. And in August of this year, we did our big, it was almost 10 days down there. And that's where I broke Doc badly. I broke his front drive shaft, a couple other things. So I haven't been on a jeeping trip since August of last year, which I've only been doing this overlanding out in the middle of nowhere wilderness camping thing for a couple of years, but I love it. It is like do you guys have like a reset that you do? Like you work real hard and you live your life for a little while and then you got, well, I guess some people call it a vacation. You take a reset, a vacation, whatever it is. Well, this is mine. And it's, now that we've got the majority of the expenses out of the way with it, these are cheap. They're inexpensive. It's really the cost of gas if we're camping and you're going to eat anyways, but you got to buy your food, but it's the cost of gas to get down there, and it's an adventure, and it's so much fun, and it's so peaceful, and it's a challenge at the same time, and I just love it. I love everything about it. You do actually, Trace, want to know what Doc and Ruby look like now. I haven't got a picture of both of them together. We're going to get a picture in that same spot coming up this next week. I call that my picture rock. To the right of Doc on the picture there is a big, huge rock I can stand up on and take a picture. And I'm going to get another one of us this year. So I haven't done this since August. This coming Tuesday, Jody and I are rolling down to Kentucky for a day. We're going to do Spas Creek again. That's where that is there. And a place called Pumpkin Hollow. It's going to be a short trip. We're leaving Tuesday morning. Drew and Kristen are going to bring their pups over and watch our pups for a day. And we're going to hopefully be down in Kentucky by noon or somewhere in there. The trails will take us about 5 hours. We're getting a little motel down there because, man, last year Jody really... My wife is tough, okay? She's a tough gal. And she loves nature as much as I do. She wants to camp as much as I do. There's nothing like waking up, with the sun out in nature and, it makes me feel alive. But it's goddamn cold right now. And Jody has some medical issues, which it's caused her to be in pain after winter camping. Waking up in the cold like that is just not good for her. And it is what it is. She really wants to, and I really want to too, but she can't. So we're getting a motel this time around. We're staying in comfort, baby. But we're going to get to do all this. I'm so excited. And now I have another one planned in a few weeks, February 11th, I think where I'm going to go down and winter camp, maybe by myself, hopefully with my brother. Because there's something primitive about it. Like my soul just yearns for the winter camping. Taylor, cold is painful for a lot of people. I accept that not all of us are the same. For me, if I wear the proper clothes, it's a challenge. It's not exactly comfortable, but I love the challenge. And afterwards, when I get home and I'm in my nice heated home, like I appreciate it. I love it. That's half of it for me, but it's not for everybody. So anyways, we're doing the Jeeping thing and I couldn't be more excited. I have a couple things I want to talk about that I didn't get graphics for. I was kind of just in a hurry this morning. The first one was Frank. Or did we call him Fred this time? I forget. I had a situation, I guess this time last week where I had here's the way they work. Everybody gets pimples, right? Pimples are pimples. We all get them. Some people stop getting them when they're teenagers. It's Fred. Thank you very much, Trace. I have some people occasionally, a few times in their life, a pimple will turn into a boil, and those fucking hurt, right? And if you have what I have, I have my medical deal. Everybody has a medical deal. Mine is cystic acne. I've had it my entire life. It's the Bricker curse. I was telling Trace the other day, I'm firmly convinced that if I did not have the Bricker curse, I would rule the earth. That's God's way of evening things out by giving me this. So Fred came around this week. The boil turns into the cyst, and the cyst is basically going to be with you your entire life unless you get it cut out. And occasionally they get infected, and that's what this one did. I don't mean to be gross or anything, but it's my fucking show. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. So this one was right here on my temple, which freaking sucks. They all suck, but this one, it's particularly bad because you got to understand, guys, my entire, I'm on camera 6 hours a day, at least 4 hours a day every day, and sometimes 6, sometimes 8 hours a day. And, the pain is one thing, but more so than the pain is the embarrassment factor. And I dealt with this, and I'm going to hide it in the open. So, but I didn't. See, so the first couple days, I put on a beanie, and I was like, I'm going to street. Then I hid behind that with humor of my embarrassment, which it turns out that is kind of, everybody deals with fear differently. I'm learning a lot about this. We're going to talk about this in a bit. But bottom line, Fred came up, and it was a struggle this week for me. I ended up taking Tuesday off because I had a headache. A lot of people get headaches. I hear people talk about this in the crowd all the time. I don't normally. I just don't. Plus, I have a hatred of taking any sort of medication. I just hate it. So I'm not going to take ibuprofen. I finally took ibuprofen on Tuesday for the anti-inflammatory factors in it to help knock that down a little bit, and it did its job. I took ibuprofen 3 times on Tuesday, which tells you how bad that thing hurt. Then I was back to work on Wednesday again. So that led to I had a Tantour deadline. We were working on a book for Tantour this week, and those are a bit different than the indie projects where there are hard deadlines. Tantour and other pubs they're big clients for me. They represent a massive amount of work. We learned a few months ago that I don't necessarily have to have them. I can work indie projects and make a living just fine. But Tantour's kind of come back into the mix again, and I love them. They're a fantastic company. And if they're going to be in my mix, they represent a good amount of money, and I don't want to lose them. The first way and the quickest way you can lose a publisher as a client is to miss a deadline. It's not that everybody gets sick, and they understand that entirely, and you can email them and say, hey, I got sick. But man, you do that a couple times, and they stop calling. They don't need you. They've got hundreds of narrators that can work projects and that are just dying to work projects. They don't need you. So you need to be reliable and dependable. That's number one. Excuse me. So I made a mistake. Normally, because of the importance of hitting a deadline with these people, normally what I do is if I have a deadline of, let's say, the 22nd, I will put my deadline on my calendar a week beforehand, just to make absolutely certain if worse comes to worse and something goes wrong and I mess up, and I'm still going to hit the real deadline. So I set an internal deadline and fool myself. It's kind of like setting your clock 5 minutes quick. But that's what I do with Tantour deadlines. Except the one that we worked this week. I don't know why. I put it on my calendar with the actual deadline. It was a mistake on my part. Then I took Tuesday off because of Fred, and the next thing you know, we are up against a hard deadline with a book to record. And that's a bad place to be in. We've done it before. We did it again. It ended up being, we worked some on Wednesday, then on Thursday, we pulled it. We pulled a long freaking day. Thank you to everyone. Trace, especially, good Lord, Trace, I love you to death. Thank you for being there for me. Everybody else, too, that hung out through the course of the day, all the brigadiers, thank you so much. Y'all rock. You saved me. We got through. We recorded 4 hours and 45 minutes of finished audio on Thursday. We submitted the book. Our deadline was Friday. I submitted the book 8 minutes before midnight, going over into Friday. So we nailed it. Just barely, but we nailed it, which is a good deal. Now, it helped a lot that the book was really good, too. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we hit it. So then come into Friday of this week, and we started a new book. And we're going to talk about that in a bit too. It's from our other favorite Brit, Victoria Sue. And normally what we do when we start a new project is we record a story time, which, by the way, that's going to be up at some point today for this new book. We record a story time video, and that's normally the first chapter, maybe the second chapter, somewhere there. We try and make a decision. We want it to be the meet cute scene if at all possible. And Discord just broke the fuck down. I mean, broke down hard. It was bad. We get in there, and Discord does this thing, right? If Windows has an update, every time I open up Discord again, it changes my audio input and output settings. So I have to reset them, and it's a huge pain in the dick. I think I've got it figured out now where when that happens, I can get it fixed in 5 minutes or less. But it's taken me a little while to figure that out as well, because my audio, as you can imagine, my audio setup is a bit complicated. So this time around, I'm like, okay, nobody can hear me. Let's fix that. Then suddenly we can't hear Trace. And then Trace can hear people in other rooms, but she can't hear me. And then other people can't hear me, but some people can hear me. And it's like Gremlin Town. It is so weird. So I decide, fuck this. We're just going to record this. We're going to do it. And we get it. We beat it into submission. It takes about 45 minutes. We beat it into submission to the point where we can hear Tracy talking to me, which is good. That's important. And I start a story time segment, and I mess up, and one of the voice selections I made just isn't quite right for the story. So we stop it. That's not so uncommon. But all right, now we've got it. Now we've got it rolling. We're cooking with gas, baby. We jump in again, and another mistake happens with Discord. This goes on. We recorded this storytime segment 4 times. 4 times. In the 4th one, the lovely author, my good friend, Victoria Sue, we love her to death. Victoria, if you're watching this, I love you and your patience too. Thank you so much. We get into the 4th time of recording this thing, and at this point, I've taken a coffee break in the middle of it. I'm furious in my head, just like, why the fuck? The universe is, because nothing's going my way. I'm a big baby. We come back in. As I'm recording it the 4th time in, I look down and I see Victoria Sue is now in the crowd. Hey, look at you. The author's watching me. And I'm always, I get a little nervous, you know, and Victoria Sue can't hear me now. And it could be derailed another time, but no, we explained to her, look, we're just going to keep going. We're not going to stop for anything. It ended up taking us 3 hours to record 20 minutes of audio. It was ridiculous. Then here is once again, I get by with a little help from my friends. I decide at the end of that, we've got 20 minutes of audio for the whole day on Friday. I'm like, fuck it. I'm done. I can't take any more. I love you guys. Peace out. 20 minutes later, a half hour later, whatever it is, probably less than that, Tracy messages me and says, I fixed it. Tracy fixed it. All on her own. She's fucking awesome. She figured it out. Somehow the permissions in our room in Discord got messed up. Tracy discovered it and fixed it because she is the queen. Ta-da! Good job, honey. Now, what I've got going on in my personal life this week, I've been trying to set these up into sections, right? I talk about kind of what happened through the week, what I got coming up, and then I try and talk about something personal. You guys know that I started doing morning meetings and that sort of thing for my 12-step work and my recovery work from alcoholism and drugs. And I'm working with I still have my old sponsor, but I'm working with a new sponsor as well. And this guy's walking me through the steps again. You never really finish working the steps. You kind of work them your whole life if you want to be happy. Because it's not just about stopping drinking and drugs. And here's what a lot of guys run into, but I'm going to tell my story. What I ran into is that quitting using drugs and alcohol is not that difficult. It sucks, but anybody can do it. One of my favorite jokes that I've heard is, if you want to quit using drugs and alcohol, it's easy. Walk up to a police officer and punch him in the nose. And it's true. But really, you can just separate yourself from drugs and alcohol to not use them. It's not that fucking hard. The hard thing is being happy afterwards. That's hard. See, normal people, and everybody's got their own issues. These are just mine. But normal people deal with emotions very differently than the way I learned how to deal with them. Normal people, if they get upset, happy, sad, fearful, anxious, anything like that, normal people will deal with that emotion. They will actually experience the emotion, and it will be unpleasant for a time if it's a negative emotion. And they will walk through that, and then they will come out the other side. What I did from the time I was a young man was, if I had any emotion that I found extreme in any way, any unpleasant emotion, and later on even the pleasant emotions, I would just drink so I didn't have to feel that way anymore. Drink and use. It created a very unhealthy relationship with me and my emotions. In early recovery, this gets to be a bitch, because what do you do when you're anxious? What do you do when you're sad? What do you do when you're angry? How do normal people deal with this shit? That sucks. It sucks feeling these emotions. What they do with the 12 steps is they teach us how to deal with life on life's terms. And when you have these tools at your disposal, which I feel like most people got like some sort of manual on how to deal with life, and I didn't, but I think everybody feels that way. When you have these tools at your disposal, these 12 steps, you have a way to work through any emotion and any problem in a healthy fashion. So I'm working through these again with a sponsor, and I'm up to step 4. Now, for those of you that are keeping up, step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives have become unmanageable. Step 1 can be applied to anything. It doesn't have to be alcohol at all. But it's any time you get to the point with a problem or an emotion where you give up and you say, I've tried everything I know and it's not fucking working. I can't fix it. That's step 1. Step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. All that means is somebody's figured out how to deal with this. Somebody in the world has. It ain't me. Somebody's figured out how to deal with it, though. Somebody could help me, because what I'm doing is beating my head against the wall on this problem over and over and over again. I'm trying the same thing over and over, and I'm getting the same results, but I'm expecting something different. I want it to change. You just can't. But that dude over there, he figured it out. Step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to a care of God as we understand him. God is that really hard word there, because I'm not a God-fearing man. I never have believed in that sort of thing. My dad was a preacher. I tried it, and that's not the way I think. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. What it truly means to me is, now that I've found somebody that's figured out how to deal with this emotion or problem that I have, I decide that I'm going to do what they tell me for a minute. They have the solution. I don't. I'm going to follow their lead. And that gets to be incredibly difficult to do. Typically what happens is you got a really bad problem and you'll give up on it because you beat your head against the wall and you absolutely have to change. But then life starts to get better after, a week or two. So you back off. The trick of this is to stay the course. So to get there, because I'm on step 4 now, I'll explain that in a second. To get to that point requires just a couple things. Honesty, willingness, and an open mind. Those 3 attributes, none of which I possess naturally. None. I am a lying sack of shit. And that's what I am naturally. That's what I do. I'm a fucking... How do you think that I'm able to be a professional actor and never had any formal acting training? I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I am a trained liar. That's what I did for years. Getting honest and truly honest. And here's the trick. Honest with yourself is amazingly difficult. The honest with yourself thing is the hardest deal. It takes typically, that's why they say you have to hit bottom. It takes getting to that bottom point in your life where you give up and you say, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. This is going to fucking kill me. I give up. It takes that for somebody like me to be entirely honest with themselves. And after that comes honest with other people. The openness is, kind of ties hand in hand with willingness. It's now that you're being honest with yourself, and you kind of have to say, I'm willing to try something different for an extended period of time. All those things are incredibly hard. Once you get through 1, 2, and 3, those are pretty much thinking steps. Those are kind of, you're contemplating your problem, but you're not actually doing anything physical. You're not actually truly making changes. You're just acknowledging you got a problem. You're acknowledging somebody else knows how to fix it, and you're making a decision to do what they say. Then you get to step 4, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Step 4 is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself, and that's where I'm at. I've done this step before, multiple times, in fact, but it's a far cry different. I'm finding doing this step stone cold sober for a number of years, as opposed to doing this step desperate to have some relief from my drug and alcohol addiction. All of this is just mind altering and life altering in a very positive way, and changing. Making a searching and fearless moral inventory really is a physical thing. What you do is you get out a piece of paper and a pen, or in my case, Max and my Surface pen, because I'm cool. Get all that out, and you start making a list of every relationship you've ever had in your entire life, all these people that have popped in. Your mom and your dad and your siblings and your first grade teacher and your boss and your child. And you start going through. You can do it in a number of ways. It takes a little bit of time. You can do it chronologically. When I was 3, my first memory is of my mother. Let's start there. And you list all these people out. Then you list any resentments that you've had towards them. So, I can start with a good example would be my father. I resented my father, and again, it's my show. I resented my father because he made me go to church. There's a resentment, right? Then you can roll over to what that affected in your life. And there's a list of things that it could affect. Your sexual relations, not so much. Dad didn't do that. Your personal relations, yes, very much. And they give a list of all these things, and then you compare them. You list out what emotional reaction you had to it. Bottom line, and this goes a lot deeper than what I'm explaining. I'm just hitting the very surface of it. You lay out your entire life, and you lay out your reaction to your life, and you try and figure out the commonality in those events. Typically, what it involves, and this is how I've come to understand it in the past, is that you figure out, for me, every time I am in fear of not being accepted by other people, I run or I fight. Now, for me, fighting does not ever really involve punching somebody physically in the face. It involves trying to manipulate to get my way. But I go into fight or flight whenever I am scared of not being accepted. And I make really poor decisions when I feel that emotion. It's fear. Step 4 is all about listing those out, taking a fearless moral inventory of yourself, being entirely honest with yourself and going through your entire life and figuring out why you're in this position of being miserable now. It is soul searching. It's also can be soul crushing. If you don't continue on with the rest of the steps, I think it probably would be. This should make you drink. But if you do it correctly, and you do it with the help of somebody else, and you move on to, if you move on to the next steps, step 5, which I'm not there yet, that's when we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of these wrongs. After you've done all of this, you go to your sponsor and you say, here's my 4th step. I've done it to the best of my ability. And you go over it with them. And then they show you how to change your reaction to that emotion. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. What it requires is being completely honest with yourself to the point where you're trying to figure out your deepest flaws, your worst mistakes. Then you figure out how to react differently in the future to that same circumstance. It's really pretty logical when you think about it. But for somebody like me, um, quitting drugs and alcohol was great. That was one thing, and that was fucking awesome. That removed the biggest Fred from the side of my head, in a spiritual sense. My biggest problem, my biggest glaring thing was now gone, but I was still a fucking asshole, and still am. Now we're trying to change the asshole, if that makes any sense. I think it does to people like you. It's been wonderful. It's been inspirational. And it's changing me in a lot of ways. I'm actually fearful of the change. I'm fearful of not being the person that I am, because you kind of get in this comfortable spot that happens. I mean, I'm not drinking and using anymore. I make decent money. People like me. What do I got to change? Everything. That's the way it turns out, everything. Because at the end of the night, when you're laying in bed, when you finished your day, when you're rolling through like we all do, the bad and the good of the day, and what I'm scared of, and what's going to happen in the future, and how's everything there. If I'm not able to accept who I am at that point, right before the lights go out and you actually fall asleep, I will never be happy. It's an amazing deal. And eventually that would lead to me drinking and using. So anyways, that's what I got going on in my personal life this week, and I'm very excited about it. Next, look at that lovely face. This is a gal that I've never met in person that I remember before. If I have, I'm so sorry, but I don't remember meeting you. So Davidson King is coming on Talk to the Beard tomorrow, and it's going to be great. And Brooke, see, God damn it, my friends, look at that. Brooke just said the nicest thing to me people can say. My beard does look good today. Thank you very much. Davidson King is coming on tomorrow. We've done a bunch of books for Davidson King, the Haven Heart Jokers series thing, that bar deal, and I think a couple more too. Those were all Tantour projects. Really looking forward to this, and it's been fun getting a bunch of people on that I've never met before. Trust me, we're going to have some regulars back, but it's been fun kind of expanding our horizons a little bit. Once again, kudos to Trace for booking this. This week we finished Got Me Hopin'. And that was Casey Cox. And this one surprised me. It really did. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. No, not Fred. I do not like narrating first-person books as much as third-person books. That perspective. That's not to say that I won't do it, because I will do it. And in fact, sometimes I really enjoy it. But the challenge that I've run into over the years is that first person just does not feel as natural to me. And if I'm doing a series, we've talked about this a lot, if I'm doing a longer series, 5 books, 7 books, something like that, and it's a first person dual point of view. So you get like I'm MC number 1 and I'm sexy man, and I'm MC number 2 and I'm sexy man. Now I have to narrate in chapters in MC number 1's voice and MC number 2's voice. But then in the next book, I've got to have a different voice for MC number 1 and a different voice for MC number 2. So now I've got 4 voices that I've got to perform in, and those keep on stacking up until suddenly you've got like 20 or 25 unique original voices that you have to tell an entire story in. It can be a problem at times. I don't like to set myself up in those scenarios if I can avoid it. I will, but it's got to be the right set of circumstances. Taylor, you are lovely. Thank you so much. Also, and I say that there are exceptions and caveats to all of these things because there are. I also have a preference for tense. I prefer past tense. Present tense does not feel natural to me, which is weird because I live in present tense, but it doesn't. Typically, if I was going to, if an author would approach me and they would say, hey, I've got a series, and I say, hey, cool, I'm an audiobook narrator. I love series. And they say, hey, it's let's say Shifters. And I say, hey, great, that's awesome. I love Shifters. And they say, it's in first person. And I'm like, let's look at it and see, because it's not my favorite, but let's look at it and see, because I could do this justice. And then I look at it and I say, okay, I can. And then they say, it's in present tense. And I'm like, fuck off. And I'm out. That's the way it normally works. There are exceptions to this. Lita Blake, Will and Patrick series. That was an exception to this. It was present tense. Now it was third person present tense, and that was the first exception. And the second exception was it was an exceptional book. That series is fucking amazing. And I'm different in my life now because I got to perform as Patrick. It's just that simple. It was great. So I said yes, and I'll tell you what, I'm so glad I made that choice. This one got me hoping from Casey Cox. Tracy actually set up this entire series. Tracy went out, got this author because she read one of the books in an ark, I think. I don't know if that means she was with a bunch of animals and they were escaping a flood. Then she approached me and said, hey, I really like this guy. We should get him. And I was like, okay, well, do your thing. So the guy contacts me, and it's a long story of back and forth until we finally figure out how we're going to make this project work. And then I tell Trace, hey, well, you're going to do the pre-read. Now, Trace knows my preferences inside and out. And Trace then realizes as she's doing the pre-read, because readers a lot of times don't think about this, that it's first person present tense. Dun, dun, dun. Like, combine all my least favorite aspects of it. And she tells me about it. And I said, oh, it is what it is now, isn't it? I like Casey. I've had him on the show. He was hilarious. I like him a lot. And it's a Tantour project, so we ain't backing out. Let's make this work. And then we got into the project. And I am so happy that we did. I'm so happy that Trace did what she did. Because this thing was fucking gold. It's hilarious. It's well written. It's rom-com. And this is rom-com. I have experience with rom-com, Lita Blake being one of them. My best friend, Anna Bird, is another of like really good authors that write really good rom-com. Casey Cox knocked this out of the goddamn park. It's great. If you haven't read this, go read it. Don't wait for me to read it to you. When it comes out from Tantour, get the audio. This thing is fucking awesome. And because my lovely TNA managed to lock down the entire series for us, we get to do the whole damn thing. It's going to be awesome. And from my understanding, we've got the first 3 contracted through Tantour. It's my understanding that there's a good chance we'll get to do the next 3 after that. I don't have a lockdown for sure, so I can't guarantee, but it looks like we're probably going to be able to do those too. Thank you, Trace. You did a great job. And thank you, Casey. You did a great job on this. This is fucking awesome. Good job. I'm not going to give any spoilers away other than it's got every element that a rom-com should have. It's got the good, the bad. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. All that fun shit. We are currently working on Hunter's Creek, not to be confused with Dawson's Creek, by our other favorite Brit, Victoria Sue. Another good friend. I love you, Victoria Sue. And this thing, the only thing I can say about it right now, because we're not that far into it, we're a couple hours into it, is there's this, when you read it on my PDF, I get the PDF from the author, and you read it, and the scene breaks. You know, when it comes to a scene break, some authors will just put like a ... Other authors will do like a little asterisk line across, and some authors occasionally will put it like in a little graphic. I'll have like a graphic, and it'll be like a leaf or, or a barbell or something that relates to the story. This book, I can't show you. You're just gonna have to get the book. I'm sorry, I can't put it up on the screen right now, and I should have gotten the graphic for that. This book has like a line drawing of a baby. And Victoria Sue, if you watch this, that baby has more hair on its head than I do. And it's not fucking fair because it's a baby. And that is bullshit. But, and so every time I come up to a scene break and I see this goddamn baby with hair on his head, it pisses me off. And it's not a good place. It's not a good space to be in as an actor. But I came to a way to deal with it because I have to. There are concessions. And this is another series I'm going to be working on. It takes a little while. I came to a concession because it's impreg. We all know how impreg works. So what I've decided is that line drawing of a baby, and he has like a little curl on his head on the line drawing. You'll see it if you get the PDF of it or the Kindle version. This PDF of it right there. What I've decided is that isn't hair on his head. That's poop. It's poop because he got pooped out of his daddy's butt. And that's a little poop stain right there. Now, little bastard. Now, when I see the little line drawing, I laugh. Poor little poop head baby. poor little poop head baby right there. So instead of the hair, it's a poor little poop head baby, and it makes me smile. So yeah, that's what we're currently working on this week. Next, we have Mingo McLeod, AJ. That's a hard word to say. AJ Llewellyn. Oh, by the way, I decided, because we have to do so many Hawaiian words in this book, to practice my Hawaiian word pronunciation, all I have to do is remember the word onomatopoeia. Now, it's not because you're using onomatopoeia, which I don't really know. I think that means you're peeing on the Ottoman Empire. But the word onomatopoeia sounds just like every Hawaiian word there is. Da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like da-da-da-da-da. It's a rhythm thing. I'm a musician. It's a rhythm thing. Onomatopoeia. That's every Hawaiian word. If you remember that word, you can get through any Hawaiian word. So coming up after this, we've got Mingo McLeod, books 1 through 4. We've actually already recorded book 3. We're going to be doing 1, 2, and 4, and we're going to be putting all those together in a bundle. And those should be out mid-February, somewhere in that range. I'm very excited about this. The books were hilarious. I love AJ. She's been a guest on Talk to the Beard and turning into a good friend. I really enjoy her a lot. Then finally, In the Wings with barbecue sauce and blue cheese dressing. We got lots of stuff coming up. We've got boy issues from Mortician Knight. We've got the Hedonist, I think it's Hedonist series, and that is going to be from Ro Horvat. By the way, I got the PDF of that this morning, and there's, you guys are going to love this one. I told you we're going to be recording some sex books this year, and Hedonist is unabashedly a sex book. It's just fucking. From one end to the other, it's fucking. And if that's what a book is, great. Let's make it. Let's do it. Let's do it up. So we're going to be doing that in early February as well, which is going to be freaking fantastic. So that's what I got this week. I really, again, want to thank my friends for hanging out with me this week. You really helped me through the whole Fred issue on my head and a few other things. I do really appreciate it. I love you to death. Trace, you knocked it out of the goddamn park this week. You did so good. Jody Lynn, if you're listening, thank you for being with me. You see, you guys see all this shit, but my wife puts up with this behind the scenes every goddamn day. If you think this is like, try this in large doses all the time. On top of that, she also helps with the business, and more than helps with the business. The business would not be the business without Jody behind the scenes. So thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. I love you. We'll be working in Discord here in, I don't know, 2 hours, somewhere in there. We're working a lot today. We're going to make a push at trying to finish up the little poop baby butt on his head thing. We're going to finish up that book hopefully today. So I love you, fucks. I will see you hopefully shortly in Discord. If not, I will see you tomorrow for Davidson King on Talk to the Beard. Have fun.